The views and opinions expressed by the hosts do not necessarily state or reflect those of the company and its management. Furthermore, the views and opinions of the guests do not reflect those of the hosts, the show, the management, and the network. It is great to migrate episode 1, migration strategies. Join us today, guys, as we explore all things related to migrating to Australia. Whether you are actually, doing something for work or maybe studying or simply seeking a new adventure here in Australia, this is the right channel, Motivationalee. And obviously, you know what? You have to listen to an expert. So today we will be hearing from Niti Hara, and she will be providing some valuable information, tips, and insights to make your journey here in Australia smoother and, of course, enjoyable. Always remember, listen to an expert. Let's now hear it from Niti Hara from Way to Oz Migration and Education Services. Hi,
Hi,
Niti. Good morning. How's it
very
going?
good morning. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, and it's nice to see you. Welcome back and Happy New Year. And
Thank you. Very
obviously, you know
happy.
what? A lot of people are waiting for some updates, and it's the start of the year is the best time to really think about, what are the things that needs to be done prior to coming to Australia. So please help us understand some migration strategies and migration updates as well, because I've heard that there are a few changes happening since November or
Absolutely.
December. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? So I'll give you the floor now. Take it away. Here's Niti Hara, the CEO of Way to Oz Migration and Education Services. Thanks, Niti.
Thank you. So, as Lay mentioned, migration strategy. We are going to talk about migration strategy that was released late 2023. Um, Let me give you a bit of background why this strategy or what does that mean, because we are getting lots of phone calls. People have been reading on, there are media releases, they're on social media everywhere. Lots of changes are coming every day. There's a new change being implemented, or there is a new something new coming up. So let me give you a bit of a background. So last year in March, there was a review of this migration system was done back in March. And as a result, there are lots of things that came out. Um, and the Albanese government discovered that our migration system apparently is broken. That's their words. So, with the vision in head that they want to build a skilled workforce in Australia in order to help transition Australia to a net zero economy or to manage the pressure of aging population, they've come up. They have decided to reorient the whole migration program to address the national challenges. Of course, there are few visions aligned to this. I'm not going to go in those details because those are politically, things like raising the living standards, building stronger Australian community, ensuring a fair going workplace. So there are certainly some objectives in order to realize this migration strategy. But one thing is certain, that in order to come with this migration strategy, extensive consultation has been taken place from all walks of Australians, and as a result, they have come up with this strategy. Now, remember, this is a migration strategy. Not everything has been implemented. So let's go through them. What are those? As a result of this strategy, they have come up, the Albanese government has come up with the 8 key action points. And in this session, I'm going to talk about those 8 key sessions one by one. What has been proposed, what's been implemented, what we could expect in near future. So I'll be referring to my notes here. So guys, please excuse me. Let me start with the first one. So the first one they are saying is targeting temporary skilled migration to address skills needs and promote worker mobility. Now, what that means is, under this particular action point, the government is saying they are going to come up with a new skills in demand visa. Potentially, what that means is they're going to replace the 482 visa with something called skilled in demand visa. I don't know what that subclass would the number would be, but there's a new visa system coming up. Um, and that is obviously to encourage migrant worker mobility in the labor market. So it could be a replacement of 482 visa. Under that visa, they have identified three streams: specialist skills pathway, core skills pathway, and essential skills pathway. So these are the three pathways that they have come up with. Now, the first pathway, specialist skill pathway, this is to attract highly skilled workers. And for this one, typically they have said it'll be more for people who are earning more than 135,000 per annum. And it is to attract highly skilled people such as engineering managers or medical professionals. Now, you know how I said that it is to attract a skilled workforce for above 130, will be paid 135,000 in the pay. For them, this amount of 135,000 will be indexed. So at the moment, that's what they have come up with. But every financial year, it'll be indexed. So next year, you could see, depending upon the indexing, it could go up to 137 or 140,000, depends. But the trade workers, machinery operators, drivers are not part of this specialist pathway. This is purely for a very high skilled migrants, as I said, such as for engineering managers. Now, Jobs and Skills Australia, this is an organization that will have a dedicated resourcing to monitor the labor market. And they come up with the specialist, the occupations that may fall under specialist skill pathway. The second pathway, it is called the core skills pathway. Now, core skills pathway, this is for to bring the skilled employees in Australia, such as registered nurse or secondary school teacher. So basically, it is to address, for example, hospital emergency department needs or acute workforce shortages in the teaching industry. So Job Skills Australia will come up with a new core skill occupation list. So you know how we have got list as a moment, medium, long-term, strategic list, short-term list. It will be all replaced by core skill occupation list. And this list will be identified by Jobs and Skills Australia, and they will try to, that will be revised, I don't know, quarterly or annually, but that is something that is addressing the shortages that Australia has in our labor market. So that's now for the core skill pathway. If you're coming through a core skill pathway, the minimum salary would be 70,000 DSMIT. And again, that will be indexed every financial year. So it may go up on 1st of July 2024. And the last one they're thinking is an essential skills pathway to address shortages in for a low salary market, you could say. Now they are still, the department is still working on how that essential pathway would look like. So there's a work being done. Now, under this action item, which is, targeting temporary skilled migration, where we are saying there'll be a new visa type with the three pathways, which is a special skills pathway, core skills pathway, and essential pathway. There are some actions which have already been implemented as a result of this key action point, and some which are lined up. So let me go through them one by one. The first one is the government has already raised the TISMIT as of 1st of July 2023. So they raised the TISMIT from 53,900 to 70,000. So that means any international worker who's coming to work in Australia must get minimum salary of 70,000. So that's already that was implemented in July 2023. Also in November 2023, that is on 25th of November, the government has announced that there's a pathway to permanent residency. So anyone who's on 482 visa, whether their occupation is in STSOL, short-term list, or a medium-term list, all occupations will lead to permanent residency 186. So that's already been implemented. Some new things that is coming in this year. The first one, as I said, a new skill in demand visa, specialist skill pathway, core skill pathway. They will also streamline the LMT to reduce the complexity. Now, some of the changes have already been implemented. Earlier, an employer had to advertise a job for LMT purpose, labor market testing, at least on 3 websites, and one of them was Workforce Australia. Now, that requirement has been removed, so you can actually advertise the position on 2 websites, and it does not have to be Workforce Australia. They're also establishing a best practice within their department, and they're establishing a SLA or service level agreement for processing time. So they want to prioritize these types of visas, and it's expected those SLAs will be implemented in mid to late 2024. Also, they are considering how to regulate migration for lower paid workers with essential skills, which I said this is a third pathway that is they're thinking of, and they still have to initiate the consultations in early 2024. So they must have already started or that's already undergoing. But that's the third pathway, and there is more detail to come for that particular action item. So lots of changes in under the 482 visa. Okay, so now let's move on to the second change, which is reshaping permanent skill migration to drive longer term prosperity. Now, what does that mean? What that means is mainly change in the point system. Now, everyone's asking, what does that mean? Okay, so what the department is saying is that the current point system, it's not fit for purpose. It's not working. So there are some, as you know, for a point test, there are some indicators such as study in regional area or NATI or community language skills, you get additional points. So the government is saying that they are the poor predictors. It's not working, right? And also the current point system does not effectively capture the age and skill trade-off. So as the age goes up, you have more experience, but the points goes down for the age. So the trade-off is not working effectively. So they are thinking of coming up with or reforming the entire point system. Now, what that point system looks like, we don't know because the discussion papers are still to be released in early 2024. So we haven't received anything so far. So watch this space. There will be changes to point test system. I just want to highlight that they also said something around that and this was one of the opinion given by Grattan Institute as part of this review, that people who have secondary applicants as skilled, they will be preferred. So guys, going forward, if you have a partner who is skilled, you will be preferred. But obviously they haven't, as I said, the reforming of the point system is still under discussion. That is still to come out. So we don't know exactly what it looks like. So can't say much about it. But under this second action item, which is reshaping permanent skilled migration, they are also considering developing a new talent and innovation visa to drive growth in sectors of national importance. So we already have global talent visa, but let's see what they mean by new talent and innovation visa. So we're expecting some changes in that subclass too. The third one, which is to do with strengthening the integrity and quality of international education. So that's all to do with student visas, temporary graduate visas. And the government is really working under this particular action. They have already implemented lots of changes, and lots of them are lined up for this financial year. Now, they've already introduced a first set of measures to improve the integrity in international education. They have, and there's a new commitment, and that was released in early January 2024 this year, where they have increased the English requirements for the students. Now, I did a separate small TikTok video on this, but just to repeat, for the student visa, the English requirements have gone up. So where it used to be 5.5, it has gone up to 6. Um, and they are also for temporary graduate visa. So after student visa, the 485 visa, the requirement for temporary graduate visa was IELTS was 6, but now it will be increased to 6.5. Now this change has not been implemented as yet, but it will be soon in this year. So also importantly, they have decreased the test validity window for TGV visa, which is earlier the English test you could have taken within 3 years of lodging your 485 visa, but now it is reduced to 1 year. So guys, be very careful. Your English test has to be valid within the last 1 year if you're applying temporary graduate visa, and the requirements have gone up to 6.5 instead of 6 overall. I'm talking about. Now, they have introduced, or they are going to implement in 2024, is they are going to restrict onshore visa hopping. Because what they call it as permanent temporariness. What used to happen was someone would come on student visa, then they would go on a TGV, then they would hop on back on the student visa. So the government is saying that this is called permanent temporariness. So they are on temporary visa, but they are living here permanently for 8-10 years, and they are not contributing to the economy as it's expected. So they are going to restrict that hopping. Now, what does that mean is it was in the paper that they might restrict going you back from temporary graduate visa to student visa. Now, what that restrict means is something we are not clear of. A restriction could mean that you may not be able to apply at all, or restriction could mean you cannot go to a lower level. So, guys, these are the changes that are still need to be implemented. We are not sure how that looks like, but certainly they are onto it, and they are going to restrict onshore visa hopping. I've already talked about temporary graduate visa. And so that was to do with the students. Yes, most importantly, another one that's coming around is a ministerial direction on genuine student requirement. So until now, again, it's not been implemented. So till date, we have something called GT, genuine temporary entrant criteria, where as part of the student visa application, you have to demonstrate how your education or studying in Australia is going to help you, if you will be going back, and you're a genuine student who's just coming to study here and you'll be going back, you have strong ties in your home country. But that is going to soon replace with something called genuine student requirement. Obviously, as part of this direction, the case officer will consider your circumstances, your academic and career progression, your intended study for the future. But it will be very clear setting the expectations who come to Australia to complete certain education. And perhaps they'll be looking how you would contribute to the economy of Australia rather than just saying, I have strong ties and I'll be going back. So it's very important to understand what a genuine student means. And this new direction called GST now, so GTEs will be replaced by something called GST, genuine student and genuine student criteria, and that will be implemented in early 2024. Another direction that has already come into place that commenced on 15th of December 2023. And as a result of that, that sets the overall priorities of processing of student visa applications. And what they are saying is that they are going to be very, very strict with the high risk applications, and they will prioritize which is the lower risk applications. They will process the applications at the earliest, whereas higher risk providers will experience slower processing times. So that ministerial direction is already implemented. So that was around the student visas. I'm just looking if I've forgotten anything around under this. No. So I think we have covered everything. But be very careful if you're thinking from uh, going from TGV, which is a temporary graduate visa, to student visa. Be very mindful what course you're taking and if it is allowed or not. But um, you know, yeah, keep watching this space as lots and lots of changes are coming under this. Okay, the next one, the fourth one, is tackling worker exploitation and misuse of visa system. Now, the government has already introduced the legislation, new powers, and large penalties to punish unscrupulous employers. There was also a paper released back in October 2023 that the department has introduced, for example, a data matching with ATO, where anyone who's on 482 for last 3 years and ongoing, um, all the data will be matched with the ATO system. So they will be very careful what your employer is reporting you for the purposes of for the tax purposes, or what are you when you are doing your tax every year, how what occupation you're putting in, how much you're being paid. So that data matching, they've spent billions of dollars in this program, and that implementation is already underway. So it's a be very very careful there. They are also going to support the migrant workers by introducing protection against visa cancellation and giving migrants opportunities where they have experienced exploitations. Now, um, I just want to elaborate this one. In past, it has happened where the workers were being exploited and they were being made work overtime or paid less, and they were threatened that if you do not do it, you will be reported to the department and your visa will be cancelled. So the department is now going to support, so it's going to be other way around. They're going to support the migrant workers and give them the required protection. So it is not just the outcome is not just the visa cancellation. It's the poor migrant worker does not have to fear that. There could be an actions against or huge penalties against the employers too. Now that is going to be implemented in mid 2024. They're also going to strengthen the integrity in the approved sponsor application processes, so that we are expecting a streamlined processes there, a streamlined processing of the applications. Importantly, yes, they are also now this implementation is already underway. They've established a real-time priority processing for protection visa applications. Um, there was a huge media release again last year, mid to last quarter of 2023, where our minister said that the permanent temporariness is increasing. Many people who come here, they put in protection visa. The application itself take 2 or 3 years to be processed. Then if it is refused, the applicant would go to AAT. 2 or 3 years is eaten up there. Then another 2 to 3 years for federal. So all in all, people are spending 10 years on when they have lodged the protection visa application. So they're gonna priority process that so as to process the application at the earliest for the protection visa applications, and they're going to reach to a conclusion, whatever that outcome would be. But that's a key target. So guys, be very, very careful there. The protection visa, you can't be, and I have seen some where people just put it in and they think we've got the working rights, we can stay here until the application is being processed. So they are establishing a real-time priority processing, and that implementation is already underway. And in order to do that, they are also regulating the migration agents to crack down on unscrupulous activities. So there's a strict compliance on migration agents like me to ensure that no fraud applications or no vicious applications are put in.
Right,
Yeah,
Nidhi, I just need to ask quickly.
yeah,
There's a question here from Jonathan about this fourth changes here from 2020 from last year's changes from November. about the worker exploitation. How would they know that this possible employer is kind of dodgy? Was there any way of finding it out, especially if they're
There
from
could be.
overseas?
I think this has not been implemented, but that's purely my opinion. Earlier, what used to happen was even if the visa applicant wanted to address or report that to the department, they were under the threat of visa cancellation because the impact was on the migrant, not on the employer. They're going to change that. They're going to have a stringent criteria for employers. There'll be a huge penalties for employer instead of penalizing the visa applicant. So that's what the exact hasn't come out. It is still under implementation. So that's that. I think those are the measures that the department is going to take because earlier poor visa applicant or the migrant was penalized by the visa cancellation that they are not doing what was as per their visa conditions. They are not doing the expected hours, or and the employers were not setting. There was no penalty to the employers. But I think they're going to change that. The exact measures still have to come. There's a lot to be done. That's just one example I've given you. I think the ATO data matching is another measure under this particular action item. So there are, and they have spent, I know when I read this strategy in detail, they have actually kept aside or dedicated resources or budget towards the compliance and audit. So maybe they could be auditing the workplaces. They could be, having a strict measures there. But exactly what it is something I can't say at this point of time, but they are on to it. That's for sure.
Thank you for that. And this is really good news for all the employees as well, especially, this is a new sort of like environment for them. And, they are now confident that they'll be protected by the government and, the
Correct.
other governing bodies as well when it comes to, working or worker exploitation, something like that. Thank you so much, Niti, for that. And you can continue. And I'll have few more clarification later on from some of our
Absolutely.
viewers right now. Thank you.
Absolutely. So the fifth one is planning migration to get the right skills in the right place. So um, that's the department's new commitment that they are planning migration over a longer term horizon to better manage the migration intake with greater state and territory and collaboration. So they will be developing a multi-year planning model for migration. They are also establishing a formal role for Jobs and Skills Australia so that they can define what skills Australia needs. Remember how I said the core skill pathway that will be a new list that will be developed by Jobs and Skills Australia. I think it's not just the matter of establishing a list; it's also continuously monitoring the labor shortages. So that would be the role of Jobs and Skills Australia, and it will be implemented in late 2024. They're also talking about improving the approach to skill recognition and assessment. Now, what that means, again, we are still not that clear. Maybe it could to do with the skills assessments, but this requires a lot of consultations with a variety of stakeholders, whether it is a skilling assessing authorities or the registration authorities or licensing authorities. But they are considering to improve the approach for skill recognition and assessment. They are going to launch an enhanced outreach program to improve access to the migration system. Um, so that's under planning migration to get the right skills. I think these are the just changes. As I said, this is a vision. That's a strategy in place. They will have a new approach, and as that new approach is announced, we will come to know more what that approach looks like and how it will be implemented.
Lovely. Can I just interrupt quickly? There's
So,
also a clarification here from Michelle that are there any specific skills or like qualifications that are high in that are in high demand in Australia
well, at the moment,
in
we know
2024?
in the paper, obviously the new list will be released by Jobs and Skills, but in the paper and what we are seeing by the on the based on the trend of the invitation, certainly health professionals are in huge demand, whether it is nursing or general practitioners or any medical professions, and teaching. That is a high priority or very, very acute shortage in Australia. Also, aged care workers, so to support the aging Australians. So these are the key, you know, not the qualifications. These are the shortages, skill shortages in Australia that's are in huge demand. But
Okay,
I
thank you
know
for
for a
that,
fact that
Niti.
Australia is also going to look for engineers and cybersecurity professionals. So that is in parallel. As I said, keep watching this space.
Lovely. You've mentioned about the point system a while ago, Niti. Correct me if I'm wrong. There's changes for the point system. Would there be changes as well for the cutoff age for permanent
I
residency?
think so.
You've talked about skills visa a while ago. Pardon?
Ye- Yes, I think so. Yes, that's what they're saying. That the point system that we have at the moment, the we have got a poor indicators in there, such as people who were studying regional area, they get 5 points, or people who have studied in NATI, or they've given a NATI community language test, they get a 5 points. So the government is saying, is it really supporting the skill shortages by giving them additional 5 points there? Or the trade-off between skill and age is not working. If you think about it, people above 40 are hugely experienced because they've got 10 to 15 years of experience in hand, but
Right.
their points drastically reduce when they turn 40. So that trade-off is not working. So they're going to look at the whole point system, and I don't know what it will look like, but certainly we are expecting some changes. I don't see that happening until late this year or early next year, to be very honest. But
Okay.
something that is a key action point as a result of this migration strategy, and they're working on it.
Mm. A lot of people are hoping for the change of the age cutoff because I know for the 45, it's 45 until 45
Yeah,
years old, right? You can apply for permanent residency. So
correct,
hopefully,
correct. So
you'll never
yeah,
know.
let's see what
Thank you so much for that,
you never.
Niti.
I'll move on to the next one, the sixth key action item, which is tailoring regional visas and working holiday maker program to support regional Australia and its workers. So, one of the government's priority is to ensure that the regional visas are processed at the earliest. They have already released a ministerial direction, um, and that was implemented in December 2023. And what they're saying is they have a designated visa processing to regional Australia as the highest priority. Um, they will also evaluate regional migration settings and working holiday maker program to ensure migration supports development objectives in regional Australia. So that is something that a discussion paper is to be released in early 2024. Um, and the government still have an existing commitment to increase the skilled migration to help labor shortages in regional Australia. So that was to do with the skilled migration in regional Australia. Moving on, the next one is deepening our people-to-people ties in Indo-Pacific. So under this, one of the measure was already implemented in July 2023, where New Zealanders can have a direct pathway to citizenship. That was released on 1st of July 2023. They're also developing people-to-people links with our regions and increasing the mobility with Pacific Island and Southeast Asian countries. So that was. They will also have a new visa, Pacific Engagement Visa, to encourage more mobility from the region. That is to be implemented in 2024, but what it looks like, I'm not sure at this stage. Okay, and last but not least, the
Sorry to
eighth
interrupt,
action item.
Niti. Sorry to
Sorry.
interrupt, Niti. I'm
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt. What was that again? If you could say that again, the new
So
visa
they are going to
possibly
deliver
include.
they are going to deliver a new Pacific Engagement Visa to encourage more mobility. that'll be implemented in 2024. But what that new Pacific Engagement Visa looks like or what exactly it is, we'll come to know more about it in the near future.
Beautiful.
Um,
Thank you.
Last one, which is the eighth key action item, is simplifying the migration system to improve the experience for migrant employers. So the government has already invested a lot to reduce the visa backlog, and we have seen huge improvement in the processing times. They are going to abolish unnecessary and duplicated visas to simplify the visa system. So they are saying that the initial consolidation we will see in early 2024. So guys, keep watching the space. As I said, we will hear in this first quarter maybe some removals of visas, some merging of visas. So they're going to simplify and remove the duplication there. So simplification is the key objective, and that's what they are working on. So, guys, this was just at a glance the key 8 action items and takeouts. As I said, the key, and that's how I see it, is that employer-sponsored visas are going to be impacted. New visa streams, new job lists or core skill pathway, specialist pathways, changes in the student visas, changes to the temporary graduate visas. Um, some of those has already been implemented. We may be having a new point test system. What else? I think I've covered all of those. Yes. Another thing is I just want to highlight as part of the introducing measures to improve the integrity of international students, the government has already closed a loophole that allowed the international students to switch to a lower quality education. They have also increased the saving, the living cost hasn't gone up to 24,505 instead of 22,000. So that's an increase of 17%. These changes are already in place. But as I said, there are lots and lots of changes. Some of them have not been implemented. So don't get scared. Um, get in contact with a professional migration agent because you may have heard something, but that's not implemented. So you may be able to take the advantage of certain, and others maybe it's a time to wait and let that measure implemented so that you can take the best advantage of it. So I think that's what I wanted to say, Lee.
Lovely.
Um, yeah, I'm happy to take the questions or
Beautiful. Last few clarifications from the our audience as well. With all these changes happening, maybe this year, later this year, or early next year, what could be the processing time, the waiting time when it comes to the migration application? How long would it take now for the
Well,
migration process?
one of the department's commitment is to to one, remove the visa backlog. So we are seeing the processing. They want to streamline the processing. So we are seeing the improvements in there. I don't see an impact there. Rather, they have a commitment to streamline and improve the visa processing times. So I think that's their existing commitment, and we have seen a lot of change since last 1 year, and I'm expecting to see that in near future too.
That's great to know. And you've talked about the changes of the English test, whether it's IELTS, PTE, or OET for student visas, right? And also the 485 temporary graduate visa. Just to clarify, it's from 5.5, it has gone up to 6 for the
To
student visas,
six and
correct?
for
Depending
yeah,
on the courses. But I know with
correct,
nursing
and
it will be seven each anyway, seven each component
correct,
in total.
correct,
Now, and for
correct.
TGV, you've mentioned about it was from 6 for the
To
485
6.5.
to
It will
6.5.
go up to, it hasn't gone up as yet, not
Yeah.
implemented, but soon to be implemented, it'll go up to 6.5
Yeah. And the validity is now from 3 years to only
to one.
1 year validity.
That is
Okay.
something to be,
So
yes.
yeah, that's good to know. Now, speaking of temporary graduate visa, I've heard that there were changes from last year's news that 35 and above who's studying in
Yeah, so
Australia.
that's
Is that
part of the
correct?
migration
Can you expound on
strategy.
that?
Yes. Again, that's part of the migration strategy where they're saying is that people above 35-year-old will not be able to apply for TGV after the student visa. Again, this is just a strategy. This has not been implemented as yet. Um, so we will see what happens this year, but nothing has come concretely on that. It was just a recommendation as part of the review that was done.
Lovely. And Mon is just asking, is it okay even with this possible changes from the 35 years and above when it comes to the 485 visa or the TGV, temporary graduate visa?
It is
Can
possible.
they start even though it's not, pardon?
It is possible. They have highlighted in their strategy document, but it has not been. They put a reason why they're thinking it, and this is what might be coming, but they haven't said concretely that it will be implemented in this time. Nothing has come so far.
Lovely. And is it possible, according to Mon here, is it possible whilst waiting for that to be implemented, could be sooner or later this year or next, maybe early next year?
I'm suspecting any TGV changes will be implemented mid 2024. So
Okay.
maybe
Is it?
in the start of the next financial year, which is from 1st of July.
I see. So is it possible for him or any other student visa holder who are 35 years and above to find a job right now, to find a works
Their
employer
strategy is,
for them?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. That is, and this is what the government wants, that the students who have come here to study, they should be working as a skilled labor. They should be working in their own industry so as to help the nation as well to contribute to the economy.
Exactly.
And they will get as part, even as a part of the new point system, they will be, in the long run they'll be more advantageous. Maybe they will get extra points for that, I don't know, but that's what they're saying. So it is very important. Students above or soon to be completing 35, if they become ineligible for um, TGV, they should be looking for an employer. There are other pathways. For example, they could be looking for a training visa if they meet the criteria. They could be looking for a employer-sponsored visas if they meet the minimum eligibility. So yes, those are the alternative pathways for them if they are not eligible for TGV and if this is implemented.
Good to know that, Niti. Thank you so much for giving them some, like tips and maybe other pathways that they can do. And instead of panicking. And the most important thing is, Niti, they need to listen to an expert, just like you, from Way to Oz Migration and Education Services, than, talking to different people who are not really, you know, um, you're not really in tune when it comes to migration visa. So please keep in touch with Way to Oz Migration and Education Services. In front of your screen is just running in front of your screen how you can follow Way to Oz. It's on we're on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, WhatsApp, Facebook page, and of course the website is www.waytooz.com. So please get in touch to an expert. Just listen to an expert and no one else. Beautiful. Niti, is there anything else that you want to share to
No, I
everyone?
would just say, I mean, it's an overwhelming, lots of changes coming. We are open for consultations. So if someone wants to discuss their situation or circumstances and they want to seek consultation in deciding what the pathway should look like, what they should be doing, they can book consultations through our website, and they can book a calendar invite and we go from there.
Wonderful. It is exciting. Thank you so much, Niti. And guys, hope you have found, today's podcast is great to migrate here in Australia, migration strategies, very informative. This discussion is very helpful as well. And inspiring you to come to Australia because Australia offers a world of opportunities from its diverse culture to its stunning landscape, isn't it, Niti? And
Absolutely.
if you are considering making the move, this year is your year, ladies and gentlemen. So please get in touch with Way to Oz, Migration and Education Services. And of course, you can also get in touch with me. You can follow me on my YouTube channel, Motivationalee, and Instagram, LinkedIn, FB page, and the rest of other social media. I did mention about Facebook page as well. So please get in touch with us motivationally, and of course, wait to us migration and education services, and we'll be here to support you guys and help you understand what is the best pathway for you to make and to make sure as well that you'll enjoy your adventure here in Australia. It is great to migrate. Thank you so much for watching, Niti. Thank you so much. You're amazing. See you again next time for episode 2 for It's Great to Migrate. This is Motivationally.